Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome Ranking Member Huffman and our new returning members to the first subcommittee hearing of the 118th Congress. The subcommittee is meeting today to hear testimony on benefits and access, the necessity for multiple use of water resources. Under Rule 4F, any oral opening statements at hearings are limited to the chairman and the ranking minority member. I therefore ask unanimous consent that all other members' opening statements be made part of the hearing record if they are submitted in accordance with Committee Rule 3.0. Without objection, so ordered. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. Let me begin by saying how much I appreciate Chair Westerman giving me the opportunity to lead the Water, Wildlife, and Fisheries Subcommittee. I've spent much of my life preparing for the opportunity to positively address issues of wildlife, fish, water shortage, and water allocation, and there's no better place to realize on this opportunity than right here in this subcommittee. It's my hope that the conversations we will have with the many excellent witnesses that will appear before us, such as those we have here today, will lead to solutions which help resolve the hugely challenging problems that face us across the United States when it comes to water and in our oceans. These problems include crashing aquatic populations, lack of flexibility in the application of regulation, the forced return to desert of vast amounts of agricultural lands, water-starved but still ever-expanding cities, declining aquifers, unresolved tribal claims to water, wildfire destruction of watersheds, over-allocation, and of course the massive impact overgrown forests have on water supplies, to name but a few. It's also my hope that our discussions, while direct, will focus on solutions rather than why one water user is most deserving or why one approach is most scientific. Anyone who has had anything to do with water allocation knows that it's a veritable devil's stew of federal and state law, engineering, culture, environment, agency ambition, money, and even the weather, to name but a few of the normal ingredients of a water discussion. So it's easy to dredge up arguments supporting any position. But we really don't have the luxury of time. We absolutely must focus now on encouraging states to increase the sustainable supply of water, to stop using water in ways that irreversibly deplete groundwater resources, and we can't avoid taking on the incredibly difficult question of what we do when there simply isn't enough water. Do we rely on the markets? Do we rely on regulation? Do we rely on the courts? Do we rely on Congress? Do we rely on technology? These are water-related issues that we will be talking about over the next 2 years. Of course, this subcommittee has far more than water within its jurisdiction, and I look forward to hearings on the essential part that hydropower plays in the western United States, the consequences of reintroduction of various species, including wolves, compacts between states, dams, the treaty with Canada, the implementation of the Magnuson-Stevens Fishery and Conservation Act, aquaculture, oversight over the Bureau of Reclamation, and oversight over power marketing administrations such as the BPA, the dams that produce the energy they market, and of course, review of U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Indian Water Rights Settlements, an investigation where the new some $15 billion under Reclamation's authority is being spent. Obviously, we have a lot to do. But today we'll be talking about the importance of the multiple uses of water and ocean resources. A poster child for such warnings is California. After 3 dry years in that state, 2023 began with a series of historic atmospheric river storms. While some of this range was captured and staggering amount of the water was wasted into the ocean. This week, another strong winter storm brings multiple feet of snow with major impacts expected once again as I speak over the foothills and mountains of California. As of Monday, California's statewide snow water content is 192% of average. Yet how much of this water will be put to beneficial use? If history is any indication, much of it will go to waste. This is a cycle that we've seen before. The 2016-17 water year was one of the wettest years in California history and was preceded by 5 dry years. Yet can we point to any long-term water solutions that have resulted in the last decade? The previous administration tried by approving long-awaited feasibility studies on storage. Our witness, Dan Kevin, will discuss the implications of these policy decisions to our rural communities and domestic food supply. The state on our water infrastructure, hydropower is a critical use of water as it generates clean, renewable baseload energy. The Pacific Northwest has benefited from the development of hydropower. In fact, Oregon and Washington are the highest hydropower producing states in the nation. Yet far too often narratives are being pushed that implore the removal of this critical infrastructure. This is a knee-jerk reaction to meet environmental slogans without regard to real-world impacts of these decisions, impacts like a reliable energy grid. Our witness, Scott Corwin, will speak to the importance of hydropower. Just like water management of the ocean resources can only be as good as their data, unfortunately, instead of utilizing the best available science in the case of data on the red snapper, for example, NOAA insists on converting the state's data into inferior data management program. Our witness Martha Gaius will share with us the firsthand experience of what happens when a federal agency fails to utilize best available science. With that, I'm sure that each of you will have ideas to share regarding the dangers to our environment, our communities, our economy, and our way of life should we inappropriately limit our water resources to single purposes. The chair now recognizes Ranking Minority Member for any statement.